Meteor Mash will be securing the knockout. philthebaws going to be looking to wait out his clock and send in Chandelure. Chandelure going to be looking for the one shield. Incinerate farm all the way down. And really, what wants to see a loaded candle? The opponent led Gyarados. Usually a pretty good matchup into a fire type, but not behind this much energy. Phil fires off the first Shadow Ball, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Phil can easily shield this in return. And Gyarados is about to be countered by a fire type. We farm up, reach the Shadow Ball. It's going to be hi Gyarados, bye Gyarados. Welcome back to the channel. Unfortunately, Master League Premier is no longer with us. We've got the Great League Remix and we've got the Ultra League. However, earlier today I did ask if you wanted to see the most destructive team ever assembled in the Master League Premier. A whopping 95% of you said yes, so here we are. If you was part of that 95%, or even someone who stumbled across this video by chance, it would do me a huge favour if you could smash that like button. I'm not usually someone that asks for likes, however, if you post a video, when the leagues have rotated, it always performs terribly. However, it is what it is. I'm here to provide entertainment, so some of you wanted to see it, I'm going to put that content out. Today we're going to be shoutcasting battles from philthebaws, one of my favourite trainers. He always brings us some incredibly spicy content, and today is no exception. We've got 3 Shadow Glass Cannons that all have the ability to one-shot numerous top meta threats, but none of them can tank a hit for shit. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we see the Nightmare lead. Phil says no thank you and say switches into Mamoswine, and we're countered in theory by Gyarados. Of course, our ground subtyping does mean we're going to take super effective from these buffed Aqua Tails, but Mamoswine certainly puts up a fight. Phil shields at the Aqua Tail, throws one Powder Snow and the Avalanche for optimal fast move timing. This opponent's actually running Legacy Dragonte, a very cool flex. Is it the better move? Probably not, but it is pretty good at lower elo, especially when people cannot throw charge moves at correct timing. Mamoswine rapidly running out of HP, but Phil looking to make a play at taking back switch. We play the 2 shield out, and Mamoswine is going to take back switch, which is going to mean that Togekiss is now going to be aligned against our candle. Holy, the opponent even has their own candle in the back. Are you serious? I did not see that coming, but Phil has the correct alignment. We farm up, throw the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw does secure the knockout. We're instantly pivoting, and the opponent is now faced by Shadow Chandelure. There quite literally is nothing the opponent can do. Phil gonna reach the Shadow Ball. It's gonna be hi Togekiss, bye Togekiss, and despite hard losing lead, we're off to a 1-0 start. GG's and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, another tough lead. Although superpower coverage is very nice. Again, we see the instant pivot into Mamoswine, drawing out Annihilate. Oof, that's rough. Avalanche, one of the very finest moves in the game, forces a shield advantage. The opponent's gonna need to throw as well. Phil happy of Mamoswine's contribution, just gonna elect to take his shield advantage. The opponent reveals Ice Punch, and that is not good because Dragonite will be taking double super effective damage from that due to our Dragon flying typing. In the Master League, we can tank 1 and Phil's looking to tank it on the chin. Ice Punch does get us down to around a 3rd health, and these counters have already put us into the red. Phil farms up, fires off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw secures the knockout, and let's go Candle. We send out Chandelure. Chandelure completely core breaking the remainder of the opponent's team. Of course, we're going to shield up the incoming Drill Run or Rock Slide. Chandelure now absolutely smelling blood. Excadrill gets deleted. Holy crap, that incinerate damage was absurd. Florges can only hit us for resisted. The opponent fires off the disarming voice bait. Phil shows no respect, returns fire with the Shadow Ball, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. We're even going to reach the next Shadow Ball, and Chandelure is going to sweep the backline. GG's and thanks for playing. What a win. We're actually shoutcasting 15 battles today, or 3 sets, and you can see by the length of this video, it's not actually that long because this team is so destructive. In the next battle, we see the UFO in the lead. Phil looks to call the bait. The opponent baits with the Mirror Shot undeterred. Dragonite farms up. Full sends the superpower. Does the opponent respect the damage? Oh, superpower. Force the protection. We then see Phil make a very nice catch. Catching the, hopefully, wild charge. Oof. Mirror Shot. Trainer, what the heck? They send out Garchomp into Mamoswine and go straight for the Sandtomb. This opponent must be so weak to ice. Phil easily tanks the Sandtomb over farms, fires off the Avalanche. Avalanche would one-shot from full health, so of course gets that big boom back out. Comes the UFO, and Phil's going to full send the high horsepower. Does the opponent respect the damage? Get that UFO off my screen. The opponent's final Pokemon is Togekiss, and that is going to be all she wrote as Chandelure. Going to have no problem cleaning up. The opponent's playing it out. I've got no idea why, as Phil still has 2 Protect Shields. We're going to shield up the incoming Ancient Power. I guess we're not even going to throw a charge move, just Incinerate, farm down, and we're going to take that game. Moving very quickly on to the next battle. We see Garchomp in the lead. This opponent running Mudshot, a very dominant lead for Phil. Phil farms up, fires off the Dragon Claw before the opponent potentially reaches an outrage. Dragon Claw forces the Protect Shield, and imagine we just shield. Even if they bait, who really cares? The opponent actually full send the outrage. We then see the pivot into Mamoswine, drawing out Waterfall Gary. Very, very nice to bait this thing out because Chandelure wants no part of it. Phil fires off the Avalanche. Avalanche forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent looks for the Waterfall farm down. Mamoswine says no, reaches the next Avalanche, and we Powder Snow farm down. Mamo, you monster. The opponent sends back out Garchomp, but Garchomp is just going to get farmed down by Dragon Breath. Phil waits out his clock, sends out Dragonite. Dragonite gets the full Dragon Breath farm down. It's now 2 versus 1. The opponent's final Pokemon is their own Dragonite, and there quite literally is nothing the opponent can do. We land the Dragon Claw. We're going to be able to Dragon Breath farm down. Well, we could have if we shielded, but we're going to give Chandelure some screen time. 1 Incinerate is going to mean Chandelure is a Dragonite. Counter confirmed. You heard it here first. Another very, very quick game. In the next battle, we see the mirror lead. It's the Shadow versus the Shiny. Phil farms up, makes a savage Dragon Claw catch onto his own Mammoth. Holy cow, that is a risky play. Hopefully looking to draw out a water type. Oh god, and that is one water type we do not want to see. Milotic. Phil able to withstand the waterfalls. Fire off the high horsepower, but this Milotic is very tick and the opponent does withstand the damage. Phil is always one of my favourite battlers to shoutcast. You can see he's navigating this ABB team superbly, baiting out the water type so Chandelure doesn't have to face it, giving it the best chance to sweep. Phil manages to commit to the full Dragon Breath farm down after tanking the Surf Switch time as R misaligned. R's popped up. We pivot into Chandelure and the opponent is going to be switch locked for around 10 seconds and that means Metagross is going to get eaten alive. Phil can now shield up the incoming Meteor Mash, and when Dragonite does return, we can just go straight Flame Charge as they are so low. The opponent still with 2 Protect Shields. Shield up the first Flame Charge, but Chandelure says there's plenty more of where that came from. Fires off the next Flame Charge, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent is going to be able to Dragon Breath farm all the way down, but Phil can send out Dragonite, throw the Dragon Claw on the CMP tie. We can easily shield up the opposing Claw, return fire with our own Claw, and then Metagross is Energy Dry. And I guess we just throw the Superpower. How low are they? Oh, to be honest, they're even in Dragon Claw range. Regardless, Phil had the Superpower, throws the Dragon Claw, but it's still going to be more than enough to secure the dub. GG's and very, very well played. Heading into the next battle, what is Delphox doing on my screen? I've got a soft spot for this Pokemon because it's my one and only Shundo I've got in PvP. The opponent say switches into Gyarados. Phil fires off the Dragon Claw, what looks like to be a CMP tie. And it is. So this is only an Aqua Tail. Of course, Phil doesn't need to respect this. We might be classy, but Aqua Tail isn't going to get the job done. We then see the pivot into Mamoswine. Mamoswine looks for the Powder Snow farm down. Unfortunately, we're unable to get it before the Aqua Tail, but Phil knows he survives 1. And to be honest, that's better for us as we leave minimal farm for the returning Delphox. We also leave with the high horsepower, which of course will be one-shotting. Back out comes Delphox. We full send the high horsepower. No, which goes shielded. I was so ready for the big boom, but we don't get it. Phil can now send back out Dragonite. The opponent sends out Mamoswine. They do get a very nice Powder Snow farm down. But blink and you might miss it as this Mammoth is going to get deleted very quickly. The opponent goes straight Avalanche. Phil probably doesn't give a crap at this stage. We're just going to delete that Mammoth in the blink of an eye. Back out comes Delphox. Phil not baiting. Full sends the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball goes shielded. Trainer, that isn't going to save you as we're easily going to be able to outpace to the next Shadow Ball. Delphox probably going to bait with some kind of fire move. They throw the Mystical Fire. We don't give a crap. Shadow Ball going to be more than enough to secure the dub. GG's and thanks for playing. If you manage to bait out the opposing water type, my god, is Chandelure one hell of a closer in this format. In the next battle, we see Gyarados in the lead. The opponent save switches into Gardevoir and we answer with Chandelure. Chandelure having a very tasty little snack. Phil farms up, fires off the Flame Charge. Of course, going to be more than enough to knock out from here. The opponent just completely sacked Gardevoir and send back out Waterfall Gary. Phil commits to the Shadow Ball and he makes it. This will either knock out or force a Protect Shield. The opponent wisely shield as I don't fancy getting boomed. A lot of Waterfall Gary do carry Outrage. This opponent's only thrown 6 Waterfalls. This can only be a crunch. My top tip is always fake it till you make it, as they could have forced the Protect Shield off us. We tank the crunch, over farm, fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw secures the knockout. The opponent's final Pokemon is Togekiss, aka Togepiss, and I have no idea why the opponent isn't top left in. Mamoswine, insanely glassy, but the opponent isn't going to be able to get the full tap charm down, farm down before we reach the double avalanche. The opponent probably fishing for the boost, but trainer, do you think a boosted defense is going to save you from this avalanche? Because I already know it certainly will not, and Phil is going to pick up the dub. GG's. Heading into the next battle, philthebaws leads Shadow Dragonite into another Gary. Let's see what the move is. This one is on Dragon Breath, so we see the save switch into Mamoswine, and we are hard punished with Metagross. Phil farms up the high horsepower baits with the avalanche. The opponent, call it. I was going to say craps their pants and puts up a protect shield, but this opponent has some enormous testicles. Phil fires off the next avalanche regardless, forcing a protect shield, but this Metagross now has so much energy. Dragonite not going to fancy the Meteor Mashes, and of course Chandelure won't fancy the Earthquake. Phil sends out Chandelure, looks like he's looking to call the bait last second. Holy, puts up that shield and the opponent was not baiting. Holy cow, I like this opponent. They then send out Garchomp. Phil going straight for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball goes unshielded and we landed for huge damage. We then see the pivot into Dragonite, drawing back out Gary. Again, this isn't enough for an outrage. Phil looking to save his final protect shield. The opponent fires off the crunch. We withstand the damage and return fire with the Dragon Claw. The opponent's going to be forced to shield. No, I like this opponent until they gave us the win. Trainer, what are you planning to do? Mudshot farm down Dragonite. It's not happening. And despite the opponent playing really well until the end game, Phil picks up the dub. Heading into the next battle, we see the Battle of Dragons. This Garchomp running Dragon Tail, so a favourable matchup for the opponent. As they've got a much bigger stat product, you can see we reached the yellow before them. However, this is only a Sandtomb. Phil tanks the damage, banks the Dragon Claw, pivots into Mamoswine. Trainer, what are you doing? The opponent give us a huge energy lead and get completely farmed down and then send out Excadrill. Phil goes straight for the Avalanche. Avalanche hits for neutral and essentially Excadrill shields everything. The Avalanche wasn't even really a bait. High horsepower would be massive overkill. Phil tanks the Drill Run, completely sacking the Mammoth, saving a 2-to-1 shield advantage for our Chandelure. He sends out Chandelure. Chandelure going to be able to easily go for the one shield and farm down. The opponent not wanting to get farmed down. Send out Togekiss, and Togekiss also has an unfavourable matchup. Phil fires off the Flame Charge. Flame Charge forces the opponent's final protect shield. Phil again throws one Incinerate and the next Flame Charge for optimal fast move timing. Flame Charge, of course, does secure the knockout, and one Incinerate, or maybe two, is going to be all she wrote. I've got no idea why the opponent is throwing this charge move, as of course the Incinerate that did sneak will be knocking them out. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see another Gyarados in the lead. Let's see the quick move. This is a Dragon Breath variant, so we see the pivot into Mamoswine. The opponent gives us a huge energy lead and send out Metagross. Phil, have you learnt your lesson again? He's going for the Avalanche bait. There's no shot this gets called twice. The opponent does this time crap their pants, putting up that protect shield, and they dump energy. Phil says, Mamoswine, thank you very much for your contribution, and you already know it is candle time. Phil waits out his clock. We're going to send out the candle. Of course, we're going to have to shield once, but we're going to leave with so much energy. We know Gyarados will be returning, but Chandelure, with a huge energy lead, really doesn't care whatsoever. We correctly shield the Earthquake. Back out comes Gyarados, and Phil full sends the Shadow Ball. Does the opponent respect the damage? Trainer, are you weak? Phil looking to probably go all in on Chandelure, smelling blood in the water, and that is exactly what he does. He shields up the Aqua Tail. He's going to be able to outpace to the Shadow Ball. It's going to be high Gyarados. By Gyarados, come on trainer, show me a second steel type. Ask and you shall receive. Well, it's not a steel type, but it is weak to fire. Phil reaches the Flame Charge, and Flame Charge is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle. Oh crap, it's a big yikes lead. Unimagined instant pivot into Mamo. That's exactly what we see happen. And the opponent save switches into Gary. We saw last time Phil looked to play out the twos, and I wonder if that's what we're going to do again. We strike first with the Avalanche. The opponent shows no respect. The opponent says, if you want switch, you can have it. And Phil says, thanks trainer, I certainly do. Phil shields up the Aqua Tail, commits to the full Powder Snow farm down, and leaves with so much energy. Out comes Metagross. Phil this time, just going to full send the high horsepower. Does the opponent respect the damage? Oh, yes they do. Of course, Chandelure looking primed to sweep. So we're going to send out Dragonite. I imagine we tank this damage and then pivot into the candle and look to sweep. The opponent actually is the one that does the pivoting, but regardless, feels like, trainer, you know you didn't want switch. Are you sure? Because my God, you're now going to be stuck in this god-awful matchup. Phil, of course, going to shield up the incoming Ancient Power. We then throw one Incinerate and the Flame Charge for optimal fast move timing. I love this play. Phil calling the opponent's going to save that protection. We fully undercharge, get a further Incinerate, and that is going to allow us to outpace Metagross. Phil now farms back up to the double flame charge. You know the drill. The first one will be forcing the opponent's final protect shield. Wasn't actually quite doubled up. I got a bit ahead of myself, but regardless, we survived the bullet punches, reached the next flame charge, and that is going to be all she wrote. Another beautifully played game, Phil. Let's fucking go. Heading into the next battle. We see the Dragonite mirror. I imagine we're going to bank the Dragon Claw and look to catch on Mammoth, and that's exactly what we see happen. What a catch. Dragon Claw actually does quite a lot of damage, to be honest, and the opponent sends out Metagross. Phil's only going to reach one move, so there's no need to bait. I imagine the opponent shields. There's no reason not to. Does the opponent respect the damage? Of course they do. This Metagross has so much energy, and I think we're in prime position to get baited. We send out Chandelure. Can the opponent bait and reach an Earthquake? I don't know. The opponent does bait us with a Meteor Mash like an absolute savage. Phil not taking any chances, just looking to secure the knockout with the Flame Charge. Flame Charge actually goes shielded. The opponent wants to get us all shields down, and Phil has no choice but to respect it. The opponent full sends the Earthquake. We know Dragonite is still alive, however we're going to be able to outpace the Shadow Ball. Phil farms up to the Shadow Ball, fires off the Flame Charge, boosted. This should knock out. What is that third? The opponent's final Pokemon is Gyarados. Come on, reach the Shadow Ball. Get there, get there. No! Fuck, we die at the charge move, and I think that is going to mean we're going to lose. Dragonite is going to fire off the Dragon Claw, of course. Dragon Claw won't be lethal, but the same can't be said for us, as Crunch is going to be all she wrote, and we're going to take a heartbreaking loss. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battlefield, looking to bounce back, and we see a very tough lead. Shadow and Shadow Crime, Dragonite into Mamoswine. The opponent goes straight for the Avalanche. It looks like Phil's just completely sacking his lead. Holy. Phil now sends out Chandelure. The opponent also sacks their Mammoth and gives us a 2 Incinerate head start. Out comes Swampert. That's a Shadow as well. Is this Triple Shadow versus Triple Shadow? Phil farms up the Shadow Ball, baits with the Flame Charge. Of course, Hydro Cannon would probably one-shot Chandelure and every Chandelure that's ever entered the Master League. So Phil very wisely invest that protection. We're now going straight Flame Charge all the way. Shadow and Shadow Crime boosted. This probably knocks out the opponent. Invest their final protection. We see the pivot into Mamoswine, drawing out Shadow Metagross, but Shadow Metagross is going to be straight in and straight out. Get that Metagross off my screen. Although I think we're still pretty fucked, to be honest, as Swampert wisely overfarms. I believe they're doubled up. Phil just putting it all on the candle. Hydro Cannon does secure the knockout. We send out Chandelure. The opponent once again looks to double up. I don't believe we've got a move bank, so Phil is going to shield this first one. The opponent isn't quite doubled up, but they are able to outpace. And unfortunately, in the battle of Triple Shadows, Phil does not come out victorious. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see some dragon on dragon action. Hopefully a mud shot variant. I guess we're never going to know, as the opponent instantly save switches into Metagross, and Metagross is being hard punished by our candle. Phil going to be going for the one shield. Farm all the way down. The opponent baits, but they're not going to reach another move, and Phil leaves at 100 energy. Back out comes Garchomp, and it is a mud shot variant. Phil full sends the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball goes unshielded, and that did absurd damage again. Phil looking for the kill shot, firing off yet another Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball forces the Protect Shield, and the opponent is going to throw a charge move. If this is a Santu, we might actually survive. I take that back. Holy crap, we're glassy. Phil sends out Dragonite. The opponent sends out their own Dragontail Gary, and we send out Mamoswine. Phil going to invest his final Protect Shield. The opponent goes for the YOLO Superpower, and then they're going to concede the match. GG's. Unfortunately, heading into the final battle of today's showcase, we see the mole in the lead. We see the instant pivot into the Mammoth. I imagine the opponent's looking to chip and dip. We do survive any one move, not particularly well. Ouch, that drill run did a lot. The opponent then sends out Metagross. I imagine they're going to shield once and look to bullet punch farm down. No! Holy crap, the last battle of today's showcase. The opponent fucked about. They found out or didn't know the counts, but regardless, I was massively caught off guard there. I completely missed the big boom. I didn't even get to say, get that Metagross out of here. But regardless, Phil sends out the candle. The candle gonna fire off the flame charge. The opponent invests that final Protect Shield. Or first, I am so lost in this battle. What is going on? Come on, Jamie. You're supposed to be a professional. I'm kidding. Everyone knows I'm far from professional. We incinerate farm down. The opponent does have a Protect Shield. We bank the Flame Charge, reach the Superpower. The opponent can pick their poison, and evidently they want to get Superpower to their face. Holy cow, I cannot believe I missed that big boom. Huge shout out to philthebaws. I know Master League Premier has gone, but anyone that's made it to this part of the video, I'm sure you'll agree, it was well worth watching. Phil, without a doubt, sir, you are one of my favourite battlers. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you'd like your battles featured on my channel, a link to battle submission form is down below. And I'm going to say thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.